The top 10 for the betting. Brazil are coming in as 4 favorite. The football world might have a serious Brazil problem again. It's gone around one challenge, now the check back. The shot is on for Danilo. Because the team that made generations fall in love with the World Cup suddenly looks built to win it. And that's why that man we've just seen there, Carlo Ancelotti, has been brought in to coach the side. They've got a European to help them beat the Europeans. Think about that for a second. A nation that finished 5th in World Cup qualifying. A nation that lost 6 qualification matches after losing only 5 across the previous 20 years combined. A nation still searching for its first World Cup since 2002. The last time the World Cup was in the United States, they won it. That does not sound like a future world champion, and yet here we are. Because while everyone was focused on Brazil's struggles, Carlo Ancelotti quietly walked into international football with 5 Champions League titles, league trophies in every major European league, and a squad loaded with elite attacking talent. Vinicius Jr. is entering his prime. Rafinha arrives after another outstanding season at Barcelona. Matheus Cunha adds a completely different dimension to the attack. Endrick is the teenage wildcard. Neymar is back for a 4th World Cup. But the attack is only part of the story. Gabriel and Marquinhos arrive in trophy-winning form and give Brazil one of the strongest center-back partnerships at the tournament. Casemiro and Bruno Guimarães bring experience, control, and aggression through the middle. And for the first time in a generation, Brazil have something their many talented World Cup teams never had. A manager who knows exactly how to turn elite individuals into a winning machine. That is why this World Cup feels different. Brazil may not be the favorites, but very few teams can match their ceiling. And if Carlo Ancelotti can solve the flaws that have haunted Brazil for 24 years, the rest of the world may be about to discover why this Brazil team is so scary. Brazil are not just coming to the 2026 World Cup with a squad, they are coming with a question that has gone unanswered for 22 years. What happened to the country that used to treat the World Cup like it was theirs? 5-time champions, 1958, 1962, 1970, 1994, 2002. The only nation that has played in every single World Cup. 76 wins in 114 matches. Nobody has shaped this tournament more than Brazil, and for a long time, shaped it is exactly what they did. When the yellow shirt walked out, the game changed temperature. Pelé in Sweden, Garrincha in Chile, the 1970 side doing things with a football that still don't look real. Romario and Bebeto in 1994, then Ronaldo, Rivaldo, Ronaldinho in 2002, making the whole thing feel scripted. But that's also where the wait starts. Since Yokohama, Brazil have been living on history more than they've been building on it. 2006, a frightening attack, but France took them apart in the quarterfinal with something as simple as organization. 2010, Dunga built a more disciplined side, but the Netherlands exposed exactly how emotionally fragile that team was the moment things got tight. 2014, the home World Cup, 7-1 against Germany in the semifinal, a wound that hasn't fully closed. 2018, Belgium punished them on the counter. 2022, Neymar scored one of the great Brazilian knockout goals against Croatia, and they still went out on penalties after losing control of extra time in the final minutes. That pattern is not bad luck. That's a structural problem. Brazil never stopped producing talent. They stopped producing complete tournament teams. And there's a real difference. A star wins you a moment. A tournament team manages pressure, controls rhythm, protects leads, absorbs swings, and knows how to suffer without unraveling. Brazil have had the first thing in abundance since 2002. The second thing, far less often. That identity problem followed them straight into qualifying. They finished 5th in CONMEBOL on 28 points, 6 defeats in 18 games. For most countries, fine. For Brazil, alarming. This was a team that used to treat qualification as admin. Instead, they looked ordinary. Uruguay beat them with intensity, Colombia with momentum. Argentina came to the Maracanã and won a qualifier on Brazilian soil. Let that land for a second. Paraguay exposed a lack of ideas. Bolivia punished them at altitude. Brazil were no longer a team opponents feared before kickoff. That's when the conversation shifted. For the first time in a long time, people weren't asking whether Brazil would win the World Cup. They were asking whether Brazil could even compete with the best. Then Ancelotti walked in. That appointment changed what this squad means, because Ancelotti isn't just a big name with trophies. He's the most decorated Champions League manager in history. 5 as a coach. League titles in Italy, England, France, Germany, Spain, Milan, Chelsea, PSG, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid. But the reason Brazil came for him specifically wasn't the medals. It was that he doesn't need football to look one particular way. At Milan, he built around Pirlo, Kaká, a narrow midfield diamond. At Madrid, he gave Ronaldo freedom from the left, used Di Maria as a hybrid, trusted Benzema as the connector, then came back later and built a completely different Madrid side around transitions and individual intelligence. His gift has never been forcing players into a system. It's finding the system inside the players he has. That is precisely what Brazil needed. Not a rebuild, an organizer. The talent is there. Vinicius can destroy defensive lines from the left on any given night. Rafinha scores, creates, presses. Matheus Cunha connects midfield and attack. Neymar, if fit, can still operate between the lines in ways most players can't. Bruno Guimaraes drives forward. Casemiro holds the space behind. That's the part that should worry other teams. This system isn't built to control games. It's built to maximize attackers, and that gives Brazil one of the highest ceilings in the tournament. But ceilings come with floors. If the front four lose the ball carelessly, the midfield gets stretched. If Casemiro gets dragged wide, the center opens. If the fullbacks are caught too high, Gabriel, Marquinhos, and Brem end up defending too much space. Against the top European sides, that kind of imbalance doesn't get forgiven in knockout football. So Brazil arrive at 2026 in a genuinely strange position. Not the most stable, not the most organized, not carrying the quiet dominance of their great sides. A qualification campaign that made them look like a team that had forgotten who they were supposed to be. But maybe that's exactly what makes them dangerous. They come in wounded, carrying 24 years of unfinished business, with a squad full of elite attackers and a manager who has won everything at club level by doing one thing better than almost anyone: making good players work together. If Ancelotti finds the balance, the team that looked broken for most of qualifying might end up being the last one anyone wanted to draw. The biggest shift in this Brazil attack is simple. Nobody has to carry everything anymore. That's what makes it different. For most of the Neymar era, the creative weight always drifted back to one person. Neymar fit, Brazil clicked. Neymar missing, Brazil had good players and no real identity in the final third. This squad doesn't work that way. The responsibility is spread across different profiles, different leagues, different rhythms. Defenders are going to hate this. Vinicius brings what every tournament team dreads: open field destruction. His value at Madrid has never just been goals. It's territory. It's panic. It's the way he turns one clearance into a 5-second emergency for the opposition. In the 2025-26 Champions League, he put up 5 goals and 8 assists, finishing among the competition's most productive creators. That matters in knockout football because the players who decide those games are the ones who can break structure without waiting for a perfect team move. Vinicius doesn't need Brazil to dominate possession for 70 minutes. He needs one isolated fullback, one stretched line, one bad rest defense shape. Match changes. Rafinha is the balance. Not just another wide player collecting the ball and waiting. He presses, narrows inside, attacks the far post, creates from the half space, and brings real aggression to the right side. Ancelotti can't afford 2 luxury wingers in the same team, and Rafinha understands that. He's the one who helps the system breathe. He can stretch the pitch, combine inside, or attack the second ball on a counter press. That work rate isn't decoration. It's how Brazil keep 4 attackers on the pitch without completely losing shape. Then there's Matheus Cunha, and his role might be the most underrated in this whole squad. 10 goals and 2 assists for Manchester United doesn't fully explain why Ancelotti wants him. Cunha plays between positions, leads the line, drops into midfield, presses center backs, carries through contact, connects attacks when the game turns messy. Brazil don't need him to be Ronaldo Nazario. They need him to stop the attack from becoming three isolated forwards waiting for someone to find them. In a front line full of runners, Cunha is the link. Martinelli offers the simple weapon tired defenders hate most: direct running. He attacks space quickly, presses with intensity, and gives Brazil a left-sided option who doesn't need the game slowed down for him. That's a valuable weapon late in matches. Against elite opposition, Brazil may not always control tempo, but they can still change rhythm from the bench. Martinelli makes the pitch feel longer. He forces fullbacks to turn. He forces center backs to defend facing their own goal. Endrick is the wild card. Just 19, his Lyon loan gave him proper senior minutes in Europe, and 5 goals and 7 assists in League One show a player learning to affect games beyond pure finishing. He's still raw, but tournament football has always had room for raw danger. Defenders prepare for patterns. Young forwards break them because they play on instinct. Endrick can attack the box, shoot early, combine quickly, and give Brazil a completely different emotional charge when a game gets stuck. Ryan is the surprise package. His rise at Bournemouth pushed him from promising into genuine World Cup conversation, and Brazil's 6-2 warm-up game against Panama showed exactly why Ancelotti keeps him around. He came off the bench and scored, fast, direct, built for stretched games. He's not in the squad to carry the tournament. He's there because tournaments always need one unexpected player to change one unexpected match. Igor Thiago gives Brazil something they haven't always had: a proper physical reference point. 22 league goals for Brentford in 2025-26 was outstanding, and that changes Brazil's attacking options completely. When the combinations aren't flowing, they can go direct. When opponents defend deep, Igor gives them a penalty box target. When Brazil need to hold territory, he occupies center backs and competes for first contact. That's not old-fashioned, that's tournament football. Sometimes the best teams just need a clean plan B. And then there's Neymar, not the centerpiece anymore, the X factor. At 34, with a grade 2 calf strain disrupting his preparation, Brazil can't build the tournament around his body. That would be reckless. But if he's fit enough for controlled minutes, the value is obvious. He can receive between the lines, slow a game down, draw fouls, create the last pass, give the last third a different kind of calm. The key is that Brazil don't need him to be the entire attack anymore. They need him to be the detail that turns a dangerous attack into a decisive one. That's why this front line feels genuinely different from most Brazilian sides since 2002. Vinicius for transition, Rafinha for intensity and balance, Cunha for connection, Martinelli for pace, Endrick for unpredictability, Ryan for surprise, Igor Thiago for physical presence, and Neymar for imagination. On paper, that is genuinely frightening. But football isn't played on paper, and this is where Brazil's danger gets complicated. The fullback situation is not convincing. Danilo and Alexandro bring experience, but they're not the explosive elite modern fullbacks Brazil once had. Douglas Santos and Wesley give Ancelotti options, not certainty. Against France, England, Spain, Portugal, Argentina, wide areas decide knockout games. If Brazil's fullbacks push too high, center backs get dragged into channels. If they sit too deep, the attack loses width. That balance is thin. Defensive transitions are the real concern. A front four can hurt anyone, but the second the ball is lost, the distance back to safety can become enormous. If Vinicius and Rafinha are high, Matheus Cunha has dropped, Neymar is operating centrally, those first 5 seconds after losing possession are everything. Brazil have to counterpress with discipline, or Casemiro and Bruno Guimaraes spend the whole match defending open grass. Which brings up Casemiro. His leadership and reading of danger still matter. He can block central lanes and protect center backs, but Brazil can't make him responsible for patching every transition at 34. The issue isn't whether he understands the role, it's how much space this team asks him to cover. There's also a creativity question in midfield. Bruno Guimaraes can progress the ball, Paquetá can connect phases, Neymar can help if fit, but Brazil don't have a settled controller in the mold of a Cruz, Modric, or Rodri. Against heavy-pressing Europeans, that matters. Spain will keep the ball away from you. France will let you have it and punish your mistakes. England will match physicality and attack set pieces. Portugal will overload midfield technically. Argentina will grind the life out of matches and wait. Brazil's attack can hurt all of them, but can they control enough of the game to make that attack count? Because the problem isn't talent. Nobody looks at that front line and says Brazil lack quality. The problem is chemistry. Can the forwards move like one unit instead of separate stars? Can the midfield protect the spaces they leave? Can the fullbacks pick the right moments? Can Neymar accept being the detail instead of the whole story? Can Ancelotti build real tournament cohesion quickly enough from a squad where key relationships are still new? That's the tension. The ceiling is enormous. The margins are dangerous. If Ancelotti finds the balance, this Brazil can hurt anyone in the tournament. If he doesn't, the same attacking bedlam that frightens opponents could be the reason Brazil go home early again. Brazil are dangerous because, for the first time in years, their madness has a manager who knows what to do with it. That's the whole story, really. 2006, Ronaldinho, Kaká, Ronaldo, Adriano, Robinho, terrifying on paper. France controlled the quarterfinal because Brazil couldn't turn individual quality into collective rhythm. 2010, Dunga built structure, but the Netherlands changed the emotional temperature and Brazil completely lost the plot. 2014, home advantage, emotion, Neymar. And when Neymar and Thiago Silva were ruled out against Germany, the entire team just dissolved. 2018, Belgium caught them in transition. 2022, Neymar scored one of the great knockout goals against Croatia, and they still couldn't manage the final minutes of extra time. 24 years, same pattern. Brazil always had something, just never everything at once. That's why 2026 feels different. Individual attackers to match any classic Brazil side, physical options that modern knockout football demands, experienced leaders through the spine, and Carlo Ancelotti, 5 Champions League titles in all 5 major European leagues. The man has basically won everything short of a pub quiz. They're not arriving as the cleanest team. Qualifying made that clear. 5th in CONMEBOL, 28 points, 6 defeats. The fullback zones are still a concern. Midfield can be stretched. Neymar's fitness is a question nobody can answer confidently yet. Against France, England, Spain, Portugal, or Argentina, those problems don't stay hidden for long. But the ceiling might still be the highest in the tournament. Because if Vinicius is destroying space, Rafinha is pressing and moving inside, Cunha is linking the play, Martinelli is running at tired legs, Endrick is bringing that unpredictable young energy, and Neymar is available as the final creative weapon, Brazil can hurt teams in too many different ways to prepare for fully. That's what makes them genuinely scary. Not perfection, possibility. The rest of the world sees Brazil's flaws. Ancelotti sees options. And if he turns those options into a proper team,